Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Standing on time, gonna stop, we came to play. Ain't slowing down, we're here to stay. And we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It starts with
One
one.
thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain it due time.
Rendon in the air to left. Taylor goes back to the wall, and it's gone. Anthony Rendon, a leadoff homer in the eighth, and it is a one-run game.
Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on to didn't even know it wasted. Just to watch it shoot. I kept everything inside and even though I tried.
And here's Juan Soto.
What it meant to be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried.
In the air to deep right center field, and there she goes. We are tied.
It doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all. But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
One thing, I don't know
This
why.
is deep to center field. Bellinger's back. It's a grand slam. Howie Kendrick with a 10th inning grand slam to break it open. Wow. It is 7-3, the former Dodger breaking hearts in Los Angeles.
You talk about staying through a ball, and look, there's fans leaving already.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In the end, it doesn't really matter. It is October 10th, 2019, and this is episode 184 of the Torture Cast. Sorry for the lengthy intro, but Eric and I are still dancing on the grave of the 2019 Los Angeles Dodgers, so I strung that out a little bit. I just am not getting tired of listening to those highlights. What a fantastic baseball game we were witness to last night. And joining me, of course, like I just said, Eric, he's giggling in the background. We're in a good mood tonight. Everything's kosher. Moving on to the next round of the playoffs, and we're okay now as Giants fans.
Unbelievable to watch the Dodgers go down in such heartbreaking fashion. I mean, it's almost as if it's written in the stars for Giants fans to laugh at. It would have been one thing had they just lost, but to have a 3-0, 3-1 lead, Kershaw, and then the grand slam, I mean, it couldn't happen any better for us. Schadenfreude at its best. Nats fans and Giants fans are embracing in the streets. It was so much fun to watch. I'm so happy today because of it.
It's amazing. You know, we just, like you said, a little Schadenfreude with the whole community on social media with Giants fans just reveling in this fact. And not just that, but looking at kind of third-party, non-biased baseball people going, oh my God, Kershaw blew it again. I mean, we're highly sensitive to it because we know the history of Kershaw. Dodgers fans are very sensitive to it, but most baseball fans know that Kershaw is just not a big game playoff pitcher. And yeah, he's had good games in the playoffs, you know, game 1s and game 5s and things of that nature. But he's never had that moment. He's never had that shutdown time. He's never had that complete game clincher. He's never had that game 7 come out of the bullpen a la Madison Bumgarner. He has just never been able to do it. And he has failed time and time and time again. They said something like he's thrown 33,000 pitches in the major leagues in the regular season. He's never given up 2 home runs on 2 consecutive pitches. He's now done that twice in the playoffs, and he's only had 153 innings career in the playoffs. So there's something that gets into his mind. He has a 2.44 ERA in the regular season, and now a 4.43. A full run, 2 runs higher in the playoffs, and his career record is 9-11. So. And then again, getting into these pressure-filled situations, They were talking about it, and it's like, look, the guy, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I think as a Dodger fan, it would be fine to put him in, but knowing his history, and knowing that he's lost some zip on his ball and he's throwing in the low 90s and high 80s for his fastball, I'm really surprised Roberts put him out there in the 8th, only because he was tempting fate. If this thing goes off the rails, it's really going to go off the rails, and he's going to look bad. But if he had put in Kenta Maeda or someone else and it went off the rails, I don't think too many people would have been cursing him out, like, you should have put in Kershaw,
No, that wouldn't have been the call. Well, I mean, he came into the game talking about how he was going to piggyback Kershaw off of Buehler. And first of all, Buehler pitched fantastic. That kid is the real deal.
Yeah, he's like
both games.
He's Timmy for the Dodgers. He really is.
He really is. He seems in command when he's out there too. And I mean, they really pushed him to the brink. They probably shouldn't have pushed Buehler that other inning. But I mean, it's like you said, the Dodgers have a deep bullpen with Kolarek and Maeda and Dustin May and even Joe Kelly, who screwed it up eventually. Pedro Baez didn't see the mound in that final game. They have depth on the bullpen side. So when Robert says that he's piggybacking, I think he's just locked into that decision. Yeah. And it's like you said, we view Kershaw as the greatest pitcher of this generation. He is. The results don't bear that way in the playoffs, but it's time to start thinking of him as just another one of the top 2 pitchers on a pitching staff and not a transcendent pitcher like we viewed him for so long. Mm-hmm. And Roberts made the mistake of viewing him through those eyeglasses, and that's what burned him. I mean, Kershaw threw 6 pitches last night, and he got out of the one on 3 straight to Eaton. Like, it was absolutely nothing. And what I found most fascinating was he threw a fastball to Rendon and he threw a slider to Soto. Yeah. The slider was about a half a mile an hour slower than the fastball, meaning there was no real difference. So if the hitter is swinging on a slider, this pitching is upsetting timing. When you're trying to get out a hitter, you're trying to upset his timing. So by throwing a slider at 5, 6, 10 miles an hour slower, not only do you want it to appear it's in one place and then go to another one, you want it to slow down so the bat is faster than it and out in front of it. Had the slider been a few ticks down, Soto probably would have been out in front of it, hit it off the end of the bat, fouled it away. But since it was the exact same speed as the fastball and Soto was swinging at fastball speed, he hit the farthest home run he's ever hit in his career to tie that game. And then Dave Roberts just fell apart.
That ball that Rendon hit, you tip your cap to Rendon. That thing was 6 inches below the zone, and he golfed it.
Yeah, he really did.
That wasn't a, quote, bad pitch by Kershaw. It really wasn't. That was one of those times where the hitter went and got it and made something happen, like Pablo hitting a jack, 6 inches above the strike zone, or Vladimir Guerrero doing it. It's like sometimes you just kind of go, wow, that was pretty cool hitting. But yeah, Soto, the very next pitch, I mean, my God. I wonder, and people were talking about this on the radio today, because in Kershaw's post-game comments, he first of all, kudos to him for taking it and wearing it. He stood up there, he answered every question, didn't back down from a single answer, didn't go hide in the training room. He answered everything. And, he didn't walk away. He literally waited till the room cleared. I just really respect him as a person for what he does to the community. He's a really stand-up guy, obviously. But there was an interesting quote in there. I don't have it right in front of me, but he basically said, I know what the rap is on my postseason, performance, basically. I know what people think about it. And what are you going to do? He basically acknowledged it. So knowing that it's in his head, he knows that he's this great pitcher that it just has not been able to come through in the postseason. I just wonder, he throws an okay pitch to Rendon, he golfs it out, and I wonder if just the hamster starts going in his head. And he's like, uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. It's only 1 run now. It's only 1 run. There's nobody out. All right. I got to be careful. Here. And then, meatball right down the middle. I mean, there was not even a waste pitch. He didn't go for a corner. He didn't, it was just like,
it was a get-me-over slider. Yeah, it was a get-me-over slider that sat middle the entire time. So Soto could get fully extended on it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I don't totally hate going to him. I understand the thinking.
No, I don't think
the greatest
it's
pitcher
the worst
of the
decision.
generation.
It's not like Matt Williams and what he did, those kind of decisions.
Right.
I do think
Buehler
that
was
there's some
done.
wiggle room.
Yep.
I wouldn't have kept him in, but it doesn't mean that it was the bad decision. It was ultimately the wrong decision. Didn't mean it was bad at the time. I mean, it's Clayton Kershaw. We get it. So, and he's probably thinking, Keep if he can get Rendon out, then he's got the lefty on lefty Soto. Of course, that didn't work out. But then Maeda, comes in after that pitch and strikes out the next three guys. Just 1, 2, 3, and it was like, oh, that's how it's done.
Yeah, and Roberts said he was trying to get Kershaw through Soto for that reason. He didn't want a righty facing Soto, and so he didn't want to bring in Maeda early because then he felt like he would have yanked Maeda after Rendon. So he said he was saving Maeda for Zimmerman, and that is just the start of questionable moves in my mind by Dave Roberts. First of all, why are you saving a pitcher for Zimmerman?
Why are you thinking about Zimmerman, old man Zimmerman? I know he hit a home run in the series, but and you have a 2-run lead, so if Rendon gets on, then you worry about Soto as a tying run. But if you get Rendon out, let Maeda face him, and if he hits a jack, it's a 1-run game. It's not the end of the world.
That's the thing. Roberts got caught doing what managers do, and that is preparing for a situation that never came. Mm-hmm. And so he was trying to set something up when he needed to be focused on what was going on. And then it snowballed. I really thought trotting Joe Kelly out there for a second inning was just the dumbest thing he could do. I understand that Joe Kelly looked fantastic in his first inning of work, and he did. He got it done in 10 pitches. His breaking pitch was moving. But the moment he got out there and he walked that leadoff batter in the 10th, you could tell he didn't have it anymore. And you wondered, in a situation like that, and I'm going to do it, Bochy would have gone to the closer. Our closer would have been pitching the top of the 10th inning, maybe even the top of the 9th, the inning before.
He might have come in the 9th, but he certainly would have started the 10th, and he certainly, after a reliever walked the leadoff guy, would have yanked him right then and there.
Absolutely.
But Roberts leaves him in until he loads the bases and still keeps him in against Howie Kendrick. I mean, that's when I was just sitting there watching the TV, just sitting there incredulously, just looking at this thing going, I do not understand Dave Roberts right now. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a first guessing moment. That was not a second guessing moment. And I'm with you. I actually kind of watched it unfold. And as soon as he gave up the double, and I'm like, they're going to walk him. Oh, no, this could end up bad.
That's right. Because walk a double, then an intentional walk, yeah.
Yeah, and you could just see it. Like, he did not have it. And Kendrick, when Kendrick hit the ball, all you're thinking is, get up, baby. Sack fly. Get up, sack fly.
I thought it was a sack fly, yeah.
Right, you just want the one run. And then it's just kept carrying until it's like, it's over. Oh, it's over. And I don't know about you, but I cheered like the Giants had won a playoff game myself. It was that kind of moment, like my wife was in the bedroom and I heard her cheering from the bedroom because the Dodgers were dead. Yeah. That's how big of a swing of the bat Howie Kendrick had. And that's a guy who did nothing all series long. I tweeted it 40 minutes before that swing of the bat. I said, I haven't seen Howie Kendrick be particularly good at anything this entire series.
3 errors in the series. And
he's just been horrible. Everything he's trying to turn over the ball. He's trying to pull everything when he should be shooting it the other way. And then he puts one swing on the bat and nobody cares.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, even the Nats will tell you the same thing. They'll be like, we don't care. He did what he needed to do. Their stars came out when they needed to. In Game 4, Scherzer and Zimmerman, and Game 5, Strasburg. Nothing, can't take away from him after giving up the early runs against the Dodgers. As much as Dave Roberts' moves gets dissected, the Dodgers stopped hitting. This is the greatest offense in the National League, churning out runs left and right, and it vanished after the second inning. So, there's really something to be said for the Dodger stars. Bellinger was like 3 or 2 for 20 or whatever he was. He never really did much.
He had no RBIs in the NLDS.
Yeah, nothing.
That's crazy. 5 games, 0 RBI.
It goes back on that kind of stuff. When you look back and now you see the stats afterwards, you can kind of say like, oh, makes sense why the Nats, did have a chance because we were laughing at them. It was 2-1. Dodgers were winning 10-4 last Friday night. They were dominating.
They were dominating.
Yeah,
it looked like
Sunday
it was
night.
over. And even when I was coming home because I was driving, I had work late yesterday. It was 3-0 when I got home, and I didn't even turn on the game because I was like, Buehler's dealing. Strasburg was touched up a little bit. I'm like, the Dodgers are going to score more runs. This is probably going to be one of those 7-2 games or whatever, and they're just going to win. It's fine. And then, when it was 3-1 and going into the 8th, that's when I was like, oh, there's 2 innings left. I'll see if anything happens. And then it was, obviously the 2 home runs, and then the 10th inning. I was just, like you, just pumping my fist in the air all by myself in my office.
Yeah.
Going, hell yeah. But,
I was buzzed after that. You know what I mean? Like there's a buzz you get after a Giants playoff victory. I was buzzed last night after that Dodgers loss. It invigorated me just because we're done with the Dodgers. We don't have to flip and deal with them in the NLCS or the World Series. We can just relax. We can pick a team and not hate a team.
Maybe just take a breath and just, the next enemy off the list is probably for me the Yankees. But
yes,
we'll get
absolutely.
There.
Yep.
But, this is not obviously the Dodger podcast, but I will say this: 7 consecutive NL West titles, a club record 106 victories, all of the accolades, and still no ring. It's crazy. They're quickly becoming the Atlanta Braves of the 90s.
Yeah, this was the year that they should have gotten their 1995 title, like when the Braves got their one title.
Got their one in that 12-year stretch where they won 12 consecutive NL East titles. Yeah, they had 1 World Series, and they're at 7 now. So they got 5 more to go to match Atlanta, but they haven't won that World Series yet. So I actually was reading. There was a social media post in this Dodger fan actually. It wasn't on a Giants fan page. It was on an MLB page. And it was a, quote, well-written article. It wasn't like some miscreant, mouth breather with horrible grammar or some troll. Could have been a troll, a very well-written troll. But he basically was making the argument, I know all you Giants fans are really happy, but to be honest, it's really not that big of a deal. And quite honestly, I would rather know that we are so much superior to your team and have won 7 consecutive NL West titles than winning 3 World Series and then being absolute crap after that for 3 years. I mean, if you guys want that, that's fine. And people just were just piling on him going,
because you can't say that if you don't know.
Kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to flip the script on him and say, okay, let's give you 2 choices over the next 5 years. Choice 1, you win another 5 consecutive NL West titles, no World Series. Choice 2, you win 1 World Series but have 4 losing seasons. Which one do you want?
Right.
I'll take the World Series every single time, even with 4 losing seasons. I'm sorry. It's no one looks back and goes, yay, there's your NL West flag. You don't get a ring for it.
Right.
You don't get a trophy. You don't go walk down Dodger Stadium and see the NL West banner under the lights in the walkway. That's not what happens.
It was embarrassing for Atlanta after a while to have all those pennant flags and only one was filled in for the World Series. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing when you look up, So for the Dodgers to be reminded that they won 7 consecutive divisions and they can't do anything is just the type of thing that they're constantly going to be reminded of until they win the big one. So if anything, I think it's worse. You're constantly reminded of your failures because now you're in a situation where winning it all is all that matters. And while we always say that that's all that matters, it's nice when you get to the playoffs, but you can't, like that Dodgers fan, you can't say that unless you've actually won titles. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know how good it feels. He doesn't know.
Yeah. 3 times, and 1 time, 3 times,
right? In 3 different ways. It's funny. I saw a tweet yesterday, and it's true. The Giants since 2010, so that's 10 years now, 10 playoff years, 2010 to 2019. Yeah. The Giants actually have more playoff victories than the Dodgers. The Giants have won 36 playoff games, and the Dodgers have won 33. And the Giants only were in the playoffs in 4 of those 10
times.
Years.
Yeah. Wow.
And the Dodgers have been in for each of the last 7 straight. And still the Giants won more games because that's what matters. It's like that guy's arguing quantity over quality, which just isn't true. If you are any person of any kind of taste, it's just not true.
Yep. No doubt about it. All right, well let's go back real quick. We're not going to go in depth here, everyone. We did with the Dodgers game, obviously. Come on. That's the closest we can get to a late, excitement from Giants fans is watching the Dodgers lose. Like you said, not just lose, but lose in one of the most horrifying manners as a Dodger fan that you can imagine. I mean, being up in the series, and that accentuates, and then losing in this way.
It accentuates how great it is to be a Giants fan in this era, too. Not only did we get to watch our team win 3 titles, we've gotten to watch the Dodgers collapse time and again in different ways, in stupid moves, bad plays, the same cast of characters. It doesn't get any better than this. I would take watching this than watching my team get to the NLDS or NLCS and lose. I'd rather have this kind of stuff happen,
Well, the Nats, what a spunky team, and they do remind me a lot of the 2010 team, to be honest. A bunch of misfits. I know they got in as a wild card. The Giants did in 14, but not in 10. They won the division. But the Nats, they were under 500 in the first third of the season. They were 12 games under 500 at one point. Now, if you recall, the Giants were also 12 games under 500. That was their low point in the season as well. That was right before they ripped off 17-6 July and put them back above 500. So, I mean, the Giants, and a lot of these teams were right there, and the Nats somehow caught fire, and they did not lose it. Not only that, they get the wild card, the first wild card, and they go into Milwaukee, they were at, in Nationals Park, but they were down in that game, and they came back with, unfortunately, that poor rookie who miffed that ball in right field. It would have been a tie game instead of going ahead. So then, not saying the Nats couldn't have still won it, but that did give them the win. So they come back from that game, and then they're down 2-1 in this series, and then they're down 3-1 in this game, 3-0 prior to the eighth inning. And they still came back and won it. So this team's got a lot of spunk. Their hashtag, their slogan is "Stay in the fight," and that's what they do. They just kind of stay in the fight. They stay around. They're losing, and then boom, quick 1-2 counterpunch, and suddenly they win at the end of the game. So that's the way they're playing right now. Not a whole lot of margin for error, but they're doing it, and so it does kind of remind me of that spunk. And I wouldn't be surprised, and we'll get in our predictions here, if the Nats somehow turn that on the Cardinals, but. Let's review a little bit of, start with the wild card. We just did that with the Nats. Now, we both picked the Nats. We were right about that. Now, the A's and Rays, which the A's hosted at the Coliseum, we both picked the A's. And for some reason, the A's kind of have that similar bug that the Dodgers do, except that the A's can't even win a freaking game. This is 8 consecutive games they've lost in the postseason. This is not good. The A's just can't seem to get it together. And they lost again. What's his face went out, and I almost said Maeda. Manea, yes, he was so close. I was like, it's not Maeda. And he had been so great down the stretch after his call up at 1.71 or whatever ERA, and gave up 3 bombs, and that was all she wrote. The Rays bullpen shut it down, and they moved on. So that was unfortunate. I'm definitely not an A's fan, but you kind of, you're like, throw him a bone once in a while, and no, there's no bone to be had.
No, they ran into a Rays team, which we saw as the Houston series manifested itself. Mm-hmm. The Rays team is just a different animal. Their manager has no problem just throwing all his pitchers at you. No. And so I wish I had seen this coming beforehand. I mean, nobody saw Yandy Diaz hitting home runs in his first 2 at-bats of the wild card game. Yeah. But I wish I had seen this coming with the Rays. If you're a good hitting team like the A's and then subsequently the Astros are, if your hitters have to face a different pitcher every time, they never really get comfortable. And it's always, an uncomfortable bat, and they're off balance. And I think that that's kind of the Rays' strategy, and it works in a one-game scenario like that. It didn't work in a one-game scenario in Game 5 here in the Astros series afterwards, but that's more of a Garrett Cole thing than it is a Rays thing. But, I wish I'd seen that coming, because the Rays, they took control of that. And the A's are snakebit. They're just one of those franchises. Moneyball only gets you so far.
Yeah. So in the other NLDS... it was the Braves and Cards. You chose the Braves. I chose the Cards. And look, 3 of these series went to 5 games. So 3 of these series were coin flips anyway. The wild cards were coin flips, and 3 out of the 4 series were coin flips. So we're talking about, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 out of the 6 contests, if you will, they came down to 1 game. That's insane, Eric. So predictions were all over the board, and there's definitely no right or wrong answer when it gets to that point. But I did go with the Cardinals, and they did pull it out. You went with the Braves, but the Braves did pull up early with a 2-1 lead. And then the Braves had to come back against the Cards in Game 2, or was it Game 3? And then the Cards came back on the Braves in Game 4, and then won it with Yadi Molina sac fly. And then, of course, it went to Game 5 yesterday, and I don't think anyone saw that coming.
No,
but the Cards exploded. It wasn't even a crooked number. It was so many runs, it was back to being a nice even number. They put up the 2 digits, actually, the number 10 in the first frame, and they were talking about it on the radio this morning, and they're like, could you imagine being an Atlanta Braves fan, right? And you're outside the stadium, you're right at first pitch, and there's scalpers out there, and you buy a ticket, down in the front row for $100 or $200 or whatever it was going for the day, and you're like all excited, and you get in, you're like, oh, first pitch has happened, and you're like hearing all this popping and not a lot of crowd noise. You get your beers and your dogs, and then you go down and sit down, and you look up, and it's 10-0. Like, can I get my money back?
Yeah, there were people parking their cars.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if I was in line to park my car and I heard on the radio that happened, I leave. I go to the bar, I start drinking.
Why would you even go spend your money in the park at that point? Yeah.
You're right. There's absolutely no point. There's
You're
no
right.
point in doing it. And I didn't expect that kind of an avalanche. And I was pissed because I had all sorts of Ferris Bueller gifts for 9 runs 9 times. And then they scored the 10th run.
On the wild pitch, too, huh?
Yeah, right. So, like the Braves had it. I thought the Braves played a good series. That was my favorite series except for Game 5 being a dud. The first 4 games, I was glued to my couch. I've watched every one of these games, or at least parts of every one of these games.
Now, you watched more than I did of playoff baseball, but the parts that I did watch in each of these games, the Braves card series was very entertaining, except for Game 5. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was back and forth. Like the Game 4 that the Cardinals ended up winning. Yachty finally stepped up because Goldschmidt and Ozuna were the only 2 carrying the cards at that point. And I fear that might be the case going forward for the Cardinals, which is why I'm like wholly on the Nationals bandwagon at this point. But the Braves, there was so great a stat. After the Braves took a 2-1 lead in the series, the stat kept coming out. This is the Braves' first lead in the series since 2002 NLDS. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what, folks? They lost that 2002 NLDS to the San Francisco Giants.
I was watching that one too, exactly.
It was just so funny that was the example.
Whoops.
So now they haven't won a playoff series since 2001. Mm-hmm. And this is back-to-back years that they won the division and lost in the first round. I thought the Braves manager made some crap decisions. I don't understand why Soroka only pitched 1 game. I had some Braves fan tell me because his numbers were better on the road, but the guy was their horse. He was their horse. Yeah. He should have been Game 1 and Game 4. He should have been just Game 3. And then beyond that, you can't really blame Fulte. The Cardinals the dam just broke, and the Braves defense didn't hold up. And it was a fun series, but I don't hate that the Cardinals beat the Braves. It's just, the Cardinals are another team that I don't like in the first place, and now I get to root against them.
Yeah, no, coming from your household, I totally understand. And my family, my wife's family is deeply rooted in Missouri, and they all grew up Cardinals fans. My father-in-law played minor league ball. He has a Tim McCarver. Sorry, I was thinking the other country guy. A Tim McCarver jersey, signed jersey. Her aunt used to give Mike Matheny massages, and so we have a signed jersey and hat in our house from Mike Matheny, of course, because the Giants connection afterwards. And and then when we went out to St. Louis 3 years ago, we did a tour of Busch Stadium. Beautiful park, beautiful town, wonderful people, deep, rich history. I certainly don't hate the Cardinals, but they're kind of not no one's close to where the Yankees are, but the Cardinals have won 11 world titles, right? Yeah. World championships. So it's kind of like, all right, pump the brakes. We don't want them to win too many.
They're the Yankees of the National League. Yeah. They are. There's just no other way to say it.
So, but I don't hate them per se. I just don't want them to win. But anyway, they move on against the Nats, and going back to the Nats, of course, I chose the Dodgers. You chose the Nats, so you got that one. And that was the first postseason series, of course, that the Nationals have won, and the first time that the franchise has won a series since, I believe, 1982. So that's a long time for Expos/Nats fans to wait. Pretty cool, though. Good for them. I'm definitely against the Cubs.
I am. It's a fun fan base. They remind you of 2010. They remind me of 2014. I feel like Strasburg's having kind of his Bumgarner moments in this playoffs. He's really been pretty dominant, and I feel confident every time he goes to the mound like we did with Bum. And I can see Davey Martinez. He's, to me, the most creative manager left in the playoffs as well, Dave Martinez. So the Nats have tricks up their sleeves. And I hope it goes. I don't want to go 7 games, but St. Louis does get home field advantage. But I think the Nats can do it. I think they can do it in 6.
Yeah, it's one of those odd years where the 3rd seed gets home field because number 1 and 2 seeds were bumped. So the Cards are like going, wait, what? We get to host? Sweet. They did not expect that. I mean, 3 weeks to go in the season, the Cards' playoff chances looked almost gone, period. So, but they caught fire the last month of the season, and the Cubs obviously crapped the bed. And the Brewers, they did well too, but and snagging the wild card. But yeah, I don't think too many people expected the Cards here back in the beginning of August, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, I mean, it's a very surprise. Everybody expected the LA, in the NLCS. So it's a very shocking NLCS this year. And I'm sure TBS wishes they still had the LA market, and Fox wishes they could get the LA market for the World Series. But surprise, folks, the Dodgers are gone, and we're stuck with a lot of red. A lot of red on red action the next few days.
Yeah, you read about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of red. And then on the other side, it's going to be a lot of blue. Because the Yankees, they swept the Twins, and I don't know if I watched 9 innings combined of that entire series.
I watched, I think, 1 inning of that. Yeah, the games were lopsided. They weren't very entertaining, and the Twins were a great story this year. No one expected them to win the Central. Everybody picked Cleveland, including yours truly. They set the Major League record for home runs in a season. No thanks to the juice ball, of course. So people were expecting that, maybe they could pull little David and Goliath, but there was nothing to be had. The Yankees just absolutely ran over them.
Yeah, and that's like 17 straight or some crap like that, or 12 straight that the Yankees have beaten the Twins, not just in series, in games in series in the playoffs. Yeah, it's some ridiculous number like that. One team has never held it over another team like they do. So it's kind of like, okay, that's not shocking. But then the Astros got pushed to a 5-game series, to Game 5 against the pesky Tampa Bay Rays. And that's why I say, I wish I'd seen it coming with the wild card game, because this Rays team, once they finally got a home game, because they didn't get to play at home until Game 3 of the ALDS, since they had to go Oakland and then Houston, when they finally got it home, they turned it on, and they turned that into a series, but they ended up crumbling under the great pitching of Garrett Cole and the Astros, and losing Game 5 tonight 6-1. So it wasn't even much of a game. The Astros did much like the Cardinals did yesterday, and they scored 4 runs right out of the gate, and it just kind of put the whole game on notice, and put the game in one direction, and it was kind of like coronation for the rest of the way, as long as Garrett Cole had it, and he did. Free agent to be Garrett Cole. Nudge, nudge. Farhan.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah, right? That's got to be worth something, right?
Come on.
I mean, Brandon's got a no-trade clause, so Farhan's got to understand that he's stuck with him. So you might as well use that as a positive.
Why not?
I don't see anything wrong with this. I really don't. I think it's worth it to keep Crawford in the starting lineup if you get Garrett Cole, because this guy's amazing.
Yeah, when Houston got Garrett Cole, it was just like, oh, crap. That's good, because I was really hoping the Giants were going to target him in the offseason, but of course things happened prior to that. But he is because that was a trade, but he is a free agent, so he's clearly going to command a ridiculous amount of money. But
yeah,
it's tough, because when you think about it, Bumgarner's still a good pitcher, but he's not on the same level as Garrett Cole. And so far, Garrett Cole is proving himself in the playoffs. He is not showing any weaknesses or crumbling under the lights or the big stage. Here he is pitching Game 5, right? And he's did great tonight.
It's unbelievable. With him, there's no, it's so funny. Like, I tend to watch, pitcher-hitter matchups, which is why I say I wish I had seen the Rays. Like, the Rays had a good, idea against the good Astros hitters by throwing different pitchers at them. When you face somebody like Garrett Cole, you can't come in with a game plan, because he's just going to blow the doors off your game plan. He'll throw you 99 up in the zone that you have to swing at because it's in the zone, and then he'll bring it just like 2 inches higher and just get it out of the zone so you miss it. But it looks so good that you have to swing at it. And then if you say, okay, I'll only go after his breaking stuff, that's the stuff that comes at knee high and falls off the table, and it's 10 miles an hour slower. And like I was saying earlier, the difference makes a difference because suddenly your bat's out in front of it. It's hard to attack Garrett Cole. And that's what makes him so effective right now. And I think that's what makes him probably the best pitcher in baseball going right this second. I mean, Verlander, he had one good game and one so-so game. And then Greinke, the new addition Greinke, got lit up in the one Tampa game in Game 3. Like, apparently he's like Kershaw. He hasn't done well in the playoffs either.
He hasn't. And to be honest, I was the Rays were down 2-0, so I kind of wrote them off. They came back. They won 2 at home. They went to Game 5 tonight and was hoping maybe they'd pull a Nats, thinking like, oh, okay, it looks like they're going to lose this game, but maybe they can pull it out. I was actually hoping at this point for a Nats-Rays World Series because I figured why not have the babies in there, right? Let's have the little kids go into the World Series because you can kind of root for either one of those teams, right? It's like, okay, none of them have won a World Series. We can do this, but it will not be the Rays. It will be the Astros moving on. Of course, Astros were the darling of the baseball world in 2017, and that was in 2013 or 14 when Sports Illustrated ran the cover piece of like the Astros are your 2017 world champions. And everyone laughed at it, absolutely laughed at it, and it ended up being a Nostradamus moment for them. And the Astros are quickly becoming the Warriors of the NBA world, where they're the cute little darling team, the lovable losers that suddenly found success, and everyone's like, yay for them, that's so great. Oh, they won another one. Okay, I'm tired, done. Okay, just go away. I think the Astros are starting down that road. Granted, they've only won one, but this is the third consecutive year in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't hate it if the Astros won the World Series. In fact, both of you and I, they picked them. So
yeah, I wouldn't either. They're fun to watch. Like even when they jumped out to that lead tonight, they were all locked in right away. Altuve turned around 98 at the face. What are you supposed to do with that as a pitcher? You threw 98 at his face. If the guy can hit it, you just tip your cap. They're just so good at everything, and their bullpen's good. It's just he's amazing. He's on a Hall of Fame track. Yeah, but the Astros are fun because they do the fundamental things correctly, and I think that appeals to us as longtime ball players, and that's why aesthetically it's just fun to watch their brand of baseball.
Yeah. So overall, let's see. I took the Yankees, you took the Twins, and we both took the Astros. But again, 5 out of the 6 contests came down to one game. 2 wild cards, 3 Game 5s. So, whatever. It's funny. Nothing was really a sweep except for the Yankees. It's a lot of fun, though.
No, so but I chose the Twins like a dumbass.
Yeah, but you chose the Nats. So it's like you chose 2 underdogs, and you hit on one.
That's true.
Against the arch rivals. I took the Dodgers. So the others are, kind of coin flips. Well, kind of reviewing this. So you thought it was going to be Braves versus Nats in the NLCS, so you got half of that right. I thought it was going to be Cards versus Dodgers. I got half of that right. I mean, we picked the opposite, and yet we both are 50% correct. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I was sure I was going down when the
covering
Cardinals
all the
scored
permutations.
Yeah, when the Cardinals scored those 10 runs, I was like, damn it, now the Dodgers are going to win later, and I'm totally whiff again.
Oh, I know. I thought for sure, my Cards Dodgers is going to hit no problem. There's 3-0. I didn't want this to happen. It just crossed my mind. I was like, well, crap, my predictions. Yeah, damn it. I want to be wrong. And thank God. And then you had Twins versus Astros. I had Yankees versus Astros. So I do have the ALCS correct. But you still have the Astros there. We both have the Astros winning the championship series. I had LA versus the Astros, which cannot happen anymore. You had the Braves versus the Astros, which cannot happen anymore. But we both have the Astros winning it all. So our eventual world champion still is in it. So let's go ahead and revise our picks. This doesn't count for the overall because we got to stick with the originals. But we can have an amended part 2, if you will. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So, NLCS. Nats.
Yeah.
Cards.
Nats. I think Nats. I mean, they remind me of, they're very similar to just Giants teams in general. They don't do any one, they have great starting pitching. They don't have a core 4 like the Giants did. They do have, though, with Hudson and Doolittle, decent bullpen. As long as they keep Hunter Strickland away from the mound, they should be okay. If Hunter Strickland's in the game, then the Nats have waved the white flag. Yeah. So I think they can cobble it together. I really do.
I am going back with the Cards now that the Dodgers are out. It's a hard one because the Cards were kind of mediocre all year. But then again, the Nats were also 12 games under 500 at one point. So both teams have severe weaknesses. Nats have a weakness in their bullpen. Cards have a lot of weaknesses as well. I think the Nats are riding high. So actually, in my heart, I do think the Nats can pull this off and actually want them to pull it off. But both teams went to a Game 5. Both of them are riding high right now, and the Cards have that home field advantage, which I know doesn't mean as much in excuse me, baseball as it does in basketball per se, but at the same time, I do think that the Cards, unfortunately, will extend their legacy to another World Series. I don't want to see it, but yeah, I'm going with the Cards. As far as
I can't.
I know.
Can't
I know.
believe
You're
the
like,
Cards
I
are in
can't
this
think.
position.
I know.
Well, I mean, just like think
It's
about it.
weird.
Though. A
I
month
did not
ago,
think they were gonna be here.
would you have? Right, a month ago, we would not have thought this. It's totally these playoffs. I know Yankees Astros is kind of what everybody expected, but the whole NL side is just blowed up. It's great.
No, it's fun. So I assume we're both going to stick with our original pick, Astros over the Yankees, even though we thought it was a different opponent.
Well, I did, but yeah, I would take Astros over Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you thought it was going to be Twins, but if the Astros are going to win it all, you probably should still think that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I still do.
Like
Yeah, but that's the other
Altuve or
thing.
something.
This Nats team, they're one of those pesky teams that's got that freaking chemistry thing and all that stuff. Like, it's really hard for me to count the Nats out, but I gotta ride the Astros as the winner because I think they're the best team, top to bottom. But if Greinke doesn't get it figured out, I mean, they've got some holes.
I think that's a big wild card because they loaded up with Verlander, Greinke, and Cole to be their three guys, their three horses to ride in the playoffs. And Verlander came out of the gate and looked great. But Cole, obviously amazing. And then Greinke crapped the bed. And then it goes back to Verlander on short rest. And I don't know if it was short rest that affected him because he's, 36 years old. So maybe that's his downfall, and maybe the Astros will take heed to that. Plus, they're going to have a little more time in a 7-game series. I think Verlander is going to be fine. I do think that the question is Greinke. And if Greinke is going to pitch twice in this series, which he should be doing, and they lose both of those games, that's going to be a huge, watermark for them to kind of get over.
Yeah, I thought Verlander just seemed like he drank too much coffee the other day. It was just one of those starts where he was so jittery, and like it didn't seem like the short rest bothered him. He never had the feel for his pitches. I think he could have gone longer if needed, but since he was giving up runs, there was no point to keep him in. So I like you. I expect Verlander to be back to normal, and I think just on the strength of Cole and Verlander, they really could do it. I mean, we saw the Giants do it with one pitcher. Why couldn't the Astros do it with two?
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so the Giants are starting to interview potential candidates for their new manager in the 2020 season. They have interviewed Ron Wotus, Henry Mullins, and then just recently Mark Kotsay, who's been a assistant coach for the A's. And Bochy and him, of course, have a relationship. No, not Bochy, Farhan and him have a relationship going back. So what is your feel right now? We don't have to get too in-depth because this is going to take a while until they finally select a manager. But first of all, a lot of people were buzzing this morning going, oh, my God, I think the Dodgers might fire Roberts. Guys, he just signed a 4-year extension. I don't think that's happening. I really don't think that's happening. It did, I wouldn't necessarily be against a Roberts signing, but I don't think that's realistic. I really don't. I know Farhan has a relationship with him. Hell, he was a Giant. He has a big tie in here. Look what he did at Bochy's retirement ceremony, wearing the Thanks Boat shirt, and Barry Bonds stealing his hat and that whole funny thing. He owns a wine business with Rich Aurelia. He's like best buds with Rich Aurelia. I mean, his connections to the Bay Area and the Giants are strong. And yes, I know he's a Dodger manager for 3 years or whatever, but that doesn't matter in the world of sports. We've seen this. We know this. And so we have to, as Giants fans, get over that. Is he the best person for the job? So I don't think it's going to happen anyway, but if he were to be fired in the coming days, would you entertain the thought?
Yeah, absolutely, I would. And I ripped him apart today for his moves last night, and I still do not understand his moves fully, nor his explanations for the moves. It's just kind of like, Dave, come on, man. Like Kenley Jansen got asked about it, and he's like, that's what Doc decided. That was his game plan. So, like, you wonder if they've lost the club. He's lost the clubhouse a little. I understand, Dave has made some questionable moves, but he's also made some really good moves to get them into the places that they've gotten. So I would absolutely entertain it. The ties are all there. The connection to both Bochy and Farhan is there, so succeeding Bochy, wouldn't be as scary, especially coming from the Dodgers. But I don't think they're going to fire him. Like you said, there's 3 years left on his contract. The guy who got fired today, Gabe Kapler of the Phillies, now he's a name that could pop up because he was the scouting director for the Dodgers before he got hired away to manage the Phillies 2 years ago.
Correct.
So he was working directly with Farhan before he got pulled away, much like David Bell was doing in the Giants front office before the Reds grabbed him. So I think Kapler is a name to keep an eye on now. Kase is getting a lot of positive buzz, but I think it's so early that I'm not sure what to think of which direction they're going to go.
Yeah,
Farhan's. Yeah, he's not going to pick just some nerd. He's going to definitely take his time. But I really think the Gabe Kapler thing is interesting now, and I don't particularly want it. I didn't like the way he managed his bullpen. It's always bullpens. Bochy's a master. He laid the groundwork for us to understand. And so I'm hoping it's not Kapler, but I think he's going to enter the ring now. And there'll be a couple other names that pop up. It's good to see Joe Madden is getting pub in Anaheim and San Diego. Yeah. So we don't have to hear about him up here.
You just mentioned Boch, and we all know that he was a master with the bullpen. So what I forgot to mention when we were talking about Dave Roberts, when you were thinking, I don't understand some of these managers that think about the strategy for a situation that never happens.
Right.
I think those were basically your words. And it's true. Bochy during the regular season would do that all the time. And I think as a manager, you have to do that. You play the percentages. You think about, okay, if this guy comes up, then he's going to pinch hit, and then this guy, and that, blah, 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 blah. In the playoffs, Bochy has said it. You're making the move to win now. What is the moment now? Not the moment in 2 batters or what could be, because you don't know what could be. This is not a 162-game season where everything will average out and the numbers will bear closer to truth. But in the playoffs, percentages and numbers and all these matchups and all that stuff often are aberrations and outliers from the mean, because you're dealing with 1 game, 2 games, and that's it. So anything can happen in those situations. And so you're not going, okay, well, if I put him in now, they're going to counter with this, and then I got to save him for that guy, and then save him for that guy. It's like, no, you make the move now, and then when things change, you make another decision, whatever the case may be. So whatever the scenario presents itself to be. So you're right. I mean, Bochy was just a master at that, and I think that it's a lost art. And what's really going to be the wild card next year is going to start the 3-batter requirement for relievers, and that's going to fundamentally change the game. Regular season, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, somewhat, but it's going to blow up and be magnified in the postseason. Think about these Game 5s and the wild cards, Eric. How many of these loogies that come in and these guys that come in for 1 or 2 batters, now it's going to be like, okay, now I got to think about bringing this guy in, but he has to face 3 batters. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, I talked about Kevin Cash of the Rays. Yeah, the Rays guy, the way he brought people in, he would ride a righty and then he'd pop a lefty in there for the lefty big bat. Tonight it was Yordan Alvarez. And then he'd hop back to his righty for a little bit. And so the lefty would only pop in to face the one lefty guy. And that's gone, like you said. I'm not totally sure that's going to pass for next year still. You know what I mean? Like, I know 26-man is 100%. The roster will be 26 the entire year. And I still think that paves the way for a universal DH. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they voted it in 100% yet for the 3-batter, but you're right. It's going to totally change things.
It isn't.
And it does. Bochy, 2010 NLCS is what really highlighted Bochy's understanding of how to use a bullpen in the postseason. He didn't care what inning it was. He was going to somebody because he gets more so than other people that you have to win the game in front of you to win all 4 games. You can't win all 4 games managing inside of 1 game. You can't win them all at once. And the only way to win 4 is to win the one in front of you. And then you worry about the next one when you have to deal with the next one. And I think Bochy, just as a man, trusted his decision-making more so than maybe a lot of these managers do today. And I don't know if that's because they get noise from the front office or there's constant things going in. Kevin Cash, again, of the Rays, he said, if I'm going with my gut and it's against the numbers, he's like, then I'm doing it wrong. Which is just fascinating to think about, because sometimes your gut, you'll go with it and it'll work. And nobody does that like Bochy, because he had the confidence in his decisions. And I think that's like the flaw of the modern manager, is they're not as confident with their decision making. And that's why I almost give Dave Roberts credit. He was confident when he went to Kershaw. He was also confident when he walked out there and took the ball from him. But he was confident when he went to Kershaw because that's what he did and that's what had worked. And I don't think the managers today are as confident, and that's part of why Bochy was a master at the bullpen, is because he felt like he knew what he was doing and he didn't give a flying F what anybody else thought of it.
So one of the clarifications I want to make about that 3-batter minimum rule is that they have to face 3 batters if they were to start an inning. If they were to, let's say they came in against a loogie came in with 2 outs and a lefty coming up, they actually can just conclude an inning. They can finish an inning. So they could, hypothetically, still pitch to one person. And then the next inning starts and they can bring in whomever they want. So they don't have to.
That's true. They can pinch hit for them.
Inning. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So when I say 3 batters, that's if they were to start the inning. You can bring in a guy with 1 out, and now he's got to face either 3 batters or get the final 2 outs, whichever comes first. There's 2 outs, same thing. Get the final batter or face 3 guys, whichever comes first. So that's the only time you can remove him from the game. So I still think it's going to fundamentally change playoffs next year. It's going to, I don't know. I think it's going to rear its ugly head, but that's a conversation for another day. All right, so Joey Bart, what's up with him and wild pitches hitting his body, his phalanges and extremities?
What the hell, man? At least he doesn't need surgery this time out.
No.
So he's just, it's a broken finger, out 4 to 6 weeks. But the whole reason he was in Arizona Fall League was because he missed time during the season because he broke a finger or broke his hand.
It was a hand the last time in San Jose, and now it's a finger.
Yeah.
Like you said, doesn't require surgery. But hey, he was hitting well, 333 with like 4 bombs in 10 games. He made the All-Star team short season. So, he's doing well. He's doing well. He
was
well.
Throwing runners out left and right. His pop time is like with some of the best in the game. It was every highlight of his that went by, I was retweeting because it was just like, really? I mean, the sound of the ball off his bat, this guy's he's got no luck. He's got no luck right now.
As long as he doesn't get hit by a truck next year,
right?
Siegel doesn't poke an eye out or something. I do
knock on wood if you're with me.
I know. I do think that he might be on the fast track for kind of a Buster Posey call-up. I think at minimum, but see, that's the thing, though. You just mentioned it, and you're right. They're not going to have the 40-man rosters in September, so he's not going to be a, quote, September call-up. They're only going to expand to 26 or whatever.
Well, they're 26 for the season and 28 in September.
28
yeah,
September,
so
right.
28 in September. So he might come up, I believe. I mean, I can see him coming. I'm with you. I think he's on that fast track. He's going to force his way. I mean, that's why we're constantly talking about him. I can't remember the last prospect we talked about this much.
Not at all. Well, I think that's all we have to cover. I mean, this is definitely not a Giants-centric podcast. We were it's an odd day to record on a Thursday, but we wanted to do it kind of at a nice pause or break in between the playoffs in this first round. The NLCS starts tomorrow, and I believe the next time we are going to record is going to be between the Championship Series and the World Series. So it's going to be a World Series preview, LCS review. I myself am going to be going out on a boat. I'm on a boat. No, last year we discovered this amazing octopus garden 2 miles deep and all that stuff. So we're going to be going back out there for the next week, revisiting it and doing some more science and exploring and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a plug out there. We do stream all of our ROV dives live over the internet. You can go to nautiluslive.org, and I have dives planned from basically late Sunday night or early Monday morning all the way through Thursday morning. So it'll be 4 straight days with maybe a little break here or there because we run 24 hours a day in the water.
What's that streaming website again?
nautiluslive.org. If you go there right now, my colleagues up at Cordell Bank and Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary were just concluding a cruise today. I don't think they're streaming. Oh, no, they are.
Exploring around the Caribbean a few years ago, but right now we're sticking along the
So what you're listening to now is a live audio feed, and I'm looking
Eastern Pacific range.
at a live video feed from their ROV, and they're talking about some science stuff. Anyway, so you'll hear my wonderful, horrible voice online as we work around the clock. We have a bunch of different shifts. I'll be working the 8 to 12 shift, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. every day around the clock. So it's going to be fun. I'm real excited. This has just been an amazing experience as a scientist to be able to, with dumb luck, run into this amazing population of over 1,000 brooding mothers, something that's never been discovered before. So it's hopefully we're going to be able to get a lot of science out of this, and then on our second dive we're going to be doing some more exploration, and maybe we'll run into something else that's even crazier than this. But I urge you all to check it out if you have any interest in science. But when I get back, we'll be recording, I believe on that Monday is perfectly in between the LCS and the World Series, because the World Series, I believe, starts on that Tuesday.
Yes. I believe that Sunday is the Game 7 slot for the American League. Yeah, because it goes Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. So it is perfect. And I promise that I will not be doing anything that cool, and I'll just be glued to the couch watching baseball.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I do miss. Last year I was out during the World Series, and this year I'm going to be out during the League Championship Series. It's a little bit earlier, and it's frustrating. I can get my updates on the Bat app and stuff, so I can still tune in to see what the score is. I just can't listen, and I cannot watch. So it's frustrating.
That's why it's good that we're a Giants podcast, because you don't have to worry about watching them in the playoffs right now.
That's right. Oh, man, yeah. In 2012, I was actually on a research boat, too. It was a much smaller one, and we did have satellite radio. So we were along the coast of California, but we didn't have any video. But we were able to listen to Sergio Romo strike out Cabrera to end that series. And me and the captain of the boat, who is a massive Giants fan and a season ticket holder, were hugging and jumping and screaming and laughing and just having the time of our lives, while all the young scuba divers in the back were playing cards and listening to music going, what? Baseball? What? Ooh, whatever. Coming from the science world, I will tell you this, Eric. A lot of people in the science world don't like pop culture, movies, TV, and definitely don't like sports, unless it's like ultimate frisbee or yoga. You know what I mean? They're just... Yeah, the breed I work with is just different. I straddle many different worlds in my life.
But life's better that way. It really is.
That's what I love about it. I feel like I'm a well-rounded individual. You know what I mean?
I do. That's why it's nice. I like you. I straddle many worlds. I go between mine are baseball, poker, and crafting. Believe it or not, and I'm talking about women making scrapbooks and stuff like that, crafting, and you kind of end up where you end up and straddle the worlds. But thankfully, we always have the baseball to come back to. It's like James Earl Jones said: "It's the one constant through the years is baseball."
Baseball. I love that. I gotta put that on loop somewhere on my side.
Yeah, right. Such a great speech.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 184 of the TortureCast. You can follow us, of course, on Twitter at TortureCast. Like us on Facebook at that same moniker. You can follow us individually at ChadK21, or Eric is at 2outhits. That's with the number 2. Our website is torturecast.com, where we post our episodes and articles and anything else we fancy. So what else you got to pimp, Eric? Anything, or are you just going to be sitting on the couch watching baseball over the next week?
Baby shark, baby shark.
Yeah, you know what? We didn't even talk about
Nats!
that. So many ex-Giants in all of the playoffs, which is really weird to see that, right? The Giants seed kind of everywhere.
But Para fits because
on the Nationals, yeah.
He is a great clubhouse veteran leadership guy, and no offense to the Giants, they just didn't need that this year. They already had that, so that's why Para didn't fit. So his production didn't, once it wasn't there, it didn't matter. But he fits perfectly on the Nationals, and that guy keeps them loose. So I'm going to be rooting for Baby Shark.
And then we never even talked about Hunter Strickland coming into that inning and predicting home runs, and it was delivered big time against the Dodgers. Oh my God. Wow. He's given up, 9 home runs and 11 career postseason innings pitched.
He's given up the second most postseason home runs ever.
It's just, in barely
Andy
over a game's
Pettit,
worth.
I think, is the only guy who's given up more. It's
and he
just
has
ridiculous.
well over 100 innings pitched, and here he is.
Yes, he does. He's got
Strickland's
112
at
or
11 or 12 or 13. It's in that area. Yeah. And he almost allowed a third. That third one was against the wall. But anyway,
he hasn't blocked me on Twitter yet. He blocks everybody, but he hasn't blocked me yet. And I was not kind to him the other night. And I just, not that I tag him, never tag the athlete. I mean, it's okay to talk about somebody, just don't tag them. You know,
yeah.
I don't care if somebody's talking about me. Don't tag me. There's no need to loop me in if you're being a dick. You know, don't be a dick to their face.
Just cannot. He throws heat and it's straight, baby. It is straight
Every
as
time.
an arrow. And they just say bye-bye. Still find it ironic that he's on the Nats. I know Bryce is
unbelievable.
There, it's still weird. It's very, very
It is.
weird.
And he's on the team that finally won a playoff series. Bryce Harper finally leaves.
Yeah.
And then the Nats finally win a playoff series. And there's no correlation. Absolutely no connection.
None at all.
But people are making that connection, and it's just hilarious because no. You know, if anything the Giants titles have taught us is a confluence of events has to happen for your team to win the title. And Bryce Harper just wasn't part of that before, and apparently Baby Shark is what's going to spur the Nats onto the title.
Well, we're looking forward to just a great couple of league championship series. I just, as a baseball fan, the one thing we can say as Giants fans, at least I can personally, is that I don't like it when the Giants don't make the playoffs. But the consolation is that I don't stress as much. I don't have any ulcers. I don't lose sleep over a loss. I just move on with life. And I enjoy watching the game for its purity. And, of course, watching the Dodgers lose, which just was the cherry on top. But the rest of the league championship series, or the rest of the playoffs, it's just sit back, relax, let it unfold. Hopefully there's some epic moments and game sevens here and there, and we'll just enjoy it as baseball fans, and that's what we're here for.
That's all I want.
All right, well, thanks for listening to episode 184. We'll see you in about, 10 days or so for episode 185 when we preview the World Series. Until then, for Eric, this is Chad signing off. Until next time, a-boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.